It doesn't mean the aspects there and in different situations that stress is just going to be there. Doesn't mean the Venus can't be emotional. It's just going to have guards on it. It's going to have defenses about it. So it's possible that if the boss who's been difficult, or the husband who's been difficult, or the wife who's been difficult to the other partner, if they fall over and drop by accident, it may seem funny to them. They got. But it just makes the Venus be more responsible, more serious, more cautious, more practical, more defensive, more listening than. Now that can be very elegant. There's people that are very rich that would even have this. But so you can't say it just means you're going to be poor. You can't say that. It might be true for one person, not for others. But even if they're rich, it's going to be elegant. They're going to be cautious about what they have. If they've done the work to get established, they're going to have a restraint around having the good things, not just the cheap things. On the other hand, someone like you see it once you see the aspect. Don't define it. Don't say, "Oh, that's the person." They got that. How does it show? Ask them about it. Start asking them about what they like. What's their art? What's beautiful? How beautiful they think they are, or whatever. Like, ask. They know, and you'll learn. But if you're just saying, "Oh, this means this from the theory, and you got to have this," you could be off track completely because you can't tell if someone's dealing with the aspect well or not dealing with it. Someone with a Saturn Venus would probably be a very loyal person. They're defensive and they're not inclined to walk away from relationships, even if it's difficult. That's a good quality. So it's just one factor out of the kingdom of aspects of many factors. So when you see it, you realize that person's not going to be overindulgent. They're going to be a little more stingy and cautious with their emotions and their finances. And inhibited, they're not going to think they're beautiful enough. If they don't think they're beautiful enough, or they don't think they're appreciated enough, they might accept something for less pay because it provides some security. Someone else could be really ambitious. That's a setup. That's horrible. And they just have it, but they fight it to accomplish, to make sure they have lots of money. But then even if they have a lot, they would still be a little stingy and defensive about it. It would be hard to sell things to a Saturn Venus. It would be hard to be held. You might be able to sell insurance with the right line, but generally it would be difficult to get them to be paying for a cause or helping other people. Like, it's not impossible. Some people would, but you'd expect there's a caution there, a restraint there. And the effort is to work on making yourself good at something, work at things you like, put some time until you're better than other people at some things. And it's an emotional thing, it's not a mental thing. So you may have this one factor, but there's all the other planets and other things going on too, and not everybody's paying attention to this. It only comes up at certain times. That's the transits. Okay, so the Moon, Mercury, Venus are the ones that get the most intense caution and restraint from Saturn, because it's the outermost, the innermost. But even to the Sun to Saturn, Sun conjunct, square, or opposed Saturn. Sun is your confidence, your playfulness. The Sun, Saturn, the kid is not going to be playful. They're going to be cautious. They're going to be old before their time. They're going to be serious. They're going to want authority. They want to be in control, but they're inhibited. So they want to prove they're more than inhibited. And I think if you have a Leo trying to prove it, it's different than a Capricorn would try and prove it. So as the Saturn goes through the signs for 2.5 years, it changes the polarity to all the signs that are born during those times. But this, to the Sun, this cautious, this reserve, this seriousness, this ambitiousness, they're not going to be frivolous. They're going to be responsible or struggle with taking orders, struggle with other people having bigger positions and not doing their job well enough, I should be there. But it's a challenge with the authority. Some may work really hard to be just what their parent wants. Someone may be feeling, I could never live up to what my parent wants. To the boss, it's like, you want to lead, but you got a boss. And you got time demands. It's not just what you want to do or how you're shining. So you generally don't feel with the sun, you're not feeling, it's cautious, it's ambitious, it's structured, and you're not going to, your willpower is going to be defensive, planned, and structured, more than it would be spontaneous and uninhibited. There are many, if you don't have it, wherever, it's like when you look at your chart, you might have 2 or 3 Saturn aspects, so it's not touching a lot of planets. So, okay, you've got off the hook for a whole bunch of planets. These are the ones I got to deal with. You know, someone may have aspects to all 10 planets from their Saturn. Someone else may have no aspects to it. Wow, big difference in the textures of what they have to deal with. In growing up, in being responsible, in having dignity, in having honor. So the sun, conjunct Saturn especially, expects to be respected, wants to be dignified. They don't want to be humiliated or to be undignified. They want to have a work that they're proud of. But if they don't get that, it gets into a depression and inhibition. I got to get out of this. I got to do something, and I'll work on it. Depends again, cardinal, fixed, mutable. All the different factors will come in and be affected by this. So if you really want to see the Saturn aspects, you look at Saturn to the Sun aspects. You take your sun sheets out for the sun in the signs, sun in the houses, and for each category, you'll see how the Saturn has its presence there. Now, everybody has Saturn relating to its sun. There's 360 degrees of aspects. But when there's peak stressful, it's a conjunction, the square, the opposition, this caution, this reserve, this planning, this ambition, it's there. You got a serious person who's serious about what they're doing. They're not going to be that frivolous. But they could get jobs. But getting a job that's comfortable, you're not having to work too hard, or that's other factors. But to the Sun, Saturn, it's going to cater to authority or feel oppressed by authority or inhibited by it. So when you're younger, it's often a shyness or reserve. But the shy, reserved people, usually it turns around, they're very accomplished people as they get older. Lessons to learn over time. So Saturn to your moon is how someone lives with you. They're not going to get much hugs because you're feeling inhibited enough and too serious. If it's Saturn to the Sun, you're too busy doing what you have to do to spend time as that much time at home. Or if you have the kids, you've got the plan and you got the time plan and you're imposing, you're the authority. So the issues over authority, over responsibility, these are going to cause stress to the Sun, which the stress is going to be, what am I working? How much work, how much play? Do I like what I'm doing? Am I proud of my work? If I'm not, what am I doing? When we get to the interpretations of charts, we'll start to see these in a more integrated way. When we're looking at just as an aspect by itself, you have to think like this. Then when you're relating it to a person, they're defining how they're working with it. And it doesn't take long to see some facets of how it's working. If their accomplishment, if they're working with the Saturn or fighting against it, even if they were fighting against the Saturn, they'd still want to be the leader of the group. The Sun. Again, restraint, someone who has pressure from restraint and inhibition, they can work really hard to achieve. So someone could learn, I like taking the example of music, because music, some people are gifted with talent, but most musicians have to learn the scales, learn the rhythms, measure it, and get to train, go over it again and again and again until they've got the scales, they got this discipline down. And after 5 or 10 years, they're working, they got a job working in a symphony or something. They're a good musician, but they're in the symphony. They're not going to necessarily be noticed or famous for themselves. But the people who are hiring people would hire them. Same with other jobs or other businesses. This is someone's going to be responsible, and they're going to now. it's going to be very different if it's a Gemini with the Sun conjunct Saturn who's fighting responsibility but having to deal with it, and more likely to come with trying to run away from the commitments. But if it was a Capricorn with the Sun, they'd be more likely working with it. So the Sun is still trying to be itself. It's stronger than any of the planets. But Saturn there just adds this sort of cautious defensive edge to it. It's there in the character. You want to be able to see the aspect, look at the person, and within a little bit of time of observing, see how they're manifesting it. Because there's choices how you manifest it, but it's still, when you see it, so, oh, there's the Saturn thing. Look at that. That's an elegance. There's a responsibility. There's a dignity. That person has honor. That person's running away from commitment. That person's in trouble. That person's never going to get the job. Like you have other, it can go good or bad. When it goes bad, the cycles of life, when you go down, there's a cycle where it's going to have to go up. When you go up, if you're not holding it properly, it's going to come down. But Saturn Sun is inclined to work hard, to try and be proud of what you've accomplished. And if someone threatens it or questions it, it's going to be a threat to your confidence. Okay, when we get to now, we've looked at the inner things, how this outer judgment comes in and affects the inner things, seemingly unfairly, but some of this gets balanced up. It's also the Saturn energy. If it's Mars or Jupiter, it has a very profound effect on it. So Saturn to Mars is about getting experience and putting your energy out there. It's not about what you want, that's doing things. So it's discipline and energy. It's disciplined energy. It's prepared energy. Wow, it's anyone with Sun conjunct Saturn, square Saturn, or Mars conjunct Saturn, square Saturn, or opposed Saturn are going to be fighting with authority. They're going to be fighting with their own authority and fighting with other authority. When other people have authority, they're trying to prove against it or fight against it. But when you have your time and your discipline, you're trying to push to get it done, and you're so serious about it, you're over controlled. It's like driving with the brakes on. You put both feet down on the gas and on the brake at the same time. I know anytime I get in trouble, I can just think about it. I just take the first step and a police car drives by. But I grew up being oppressed by teachers, by parents, afraid of my father, afraid of teachers. Teachers, authority figures were never safe. By the time I got to university and I went to work, I would never go to an authority figure thinking they would ever help me. But my Saturn's in the 12th house. My Saturn's very afflicted. But as it affected my Mars, I would go do things anyways, but then I get double the punishment. If I did something wrong with my brother, who's a bit younger than me, my brother would maybe he'd get slapped or spanked 1 or 2 hits. I'd get 20 or 25 hits. Like maybe it was deserved. I had the severe father. I learned how to survive that. I grew up with gangs and bullies. I learned how to survive that. And I grew up, I don't want to be the bully. But when I'm working, I'm so serious and working. I work for hours. Had burned out a couple of marriages. Maybe all 3. But just on my own, I'm very disciplined. I discipline my own energy. I get a plan. I got to work hard at this. I'm going to get in shape with this. And when I work with it, it's difficult and intense, but I accomplish things. When I'm running away from authority and I'm not doing anything, I get nothing done. So I had a few years in my late teens. I was the hippie, traveling around doing nothing. I got a lot of experience. I got nothing to show for it. And all the difficulties in those experiences came from law or discipline or not having it, not being able to take care of myself. But I was in a different way. So just you see your Mars, and you're seeing what kind of experience you want, what you want to do, how you're going to do it. If Saturn's there, you're going to be serious. You're going to have to take a little extra time to plan it. You're going to have to work at this. And you're not going to be tolerant for anyone else adding authority on top of this.